Hi, and welcome to Reminiscing with DiNapoli here on ItalianAmericanRadio.com. Tonight, we're going to speak to the lead singer of a group that never got the proper credit, especially on some of Dion's biggest hits. So join me as we interview from the Del Satins, the wonderful lead voice of Mr. Stan Zizka. If you do me a favor, will you please bring into the studio the wonderful lead singer of a group called the Del Satins, Mr. Stan Zizka. Bring it, Stan.
Hi, hey Stan.
Hi, guys.
Wait, can we play the Star Wars theme for Stan?
We can play Stan Star Wars. Wow, Stan, what a pleasure it is to have you here with us, and thank you for doing this on such short notice.
Well, first of all, congratulations on your award. And number two, how you doing, Mike? I thought I recognized you. We go back away. We'll get into that later.
Yeah.
And Gene, thank you very much for having me. Larry called me last night, like you said, he couldn't even talk. And he asked me if I would come on and do this, and here I am, and I'm happy to do it. Thank you.
I'm so glad. You know, Stan, we've crossed paths a few times. Last night I mentioned to you that I met you out in Gurney's.
Yeah.
We played with your trio, Tangerine. But Art Lauria was a good friend of mine. And I met you twice with Art Lauria. And I'll never forget, I think we were in Patchogue, and Art Lauria said, I want you to meet a friend of mine from the Bronx. And Art went like this. And then you said, oh, you're one of those? And I said, well, I'm a little bit of both. I'm a little bit of music and a little bit of street. So I remember meeting you at least twice, three times with Gurney's as well.
Yeah, Gurney's, that was 100,000 years ago.
I'm not that old, but we'll say it's a few years ago. But
yeah, that was in the 80s.
Well, I think it was the 90s. After I got married, my wife had a timeshare with her family. I don't think it was back in the 80s.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
but Stan, we got to get right into this, because I will be honest, I didn't know much about you until I did my due diligence today after Pepe's memorial. But I did know that you guys are what are called the unsung heroes of Doo Wop, because you never got the proper recognition, which we're going to correct tonight. But I found out that the group was formed in 1958 in the borough of Manhattan. But is that where you originate from?
Well, I was born in Greenpoint, Brooklyn, and I was raised in the Upper East Side of Manhattan, in an area of Manhattan called Yorkville, on 78th Street and 2nd Avenue. And the Ferrara brothers lived on 69th Street and 2nd Avenue, and Les Couchy lived on 70th Street. And so we were all from the Yorkville area of Manhattan.
Right. Now, I didn't realize that both the Ferrara brothers were part of the original Del Satins.
Yeah. Tommy and Freddie. Tommy and Les and this gentleman named Keith Kessner, who's in one of the pictures that Mike showed me earlier. He was the original guy. And I was uptown in a Mayan neighborhood with a bunch of guys that we called ourselves the Yorkville Melodies. And we used to sing on the street corner like everyone else and get eggs thrown at us and water and stuff like that. And
this is the picture right here. He's all the way on the left, right?
Right on the very left. Yeah, that's Keith Kessner. He never recorded with us, so even though he's an original Del Satin, he's not on any of the records. He went into the Army and made a career out of it, and we haven't seen him since. But he's still alive somewhere.
Right.
And
now, is a picture of you guys. Are you in the middle jumping up in the air? That's you.
That's me.
There he is. Look at that. So like a body double.
Yes. Wonderful. And you were also called the Jokers at one point, correct?
I'm sorry?
You were also called the Jokers at one point?
Well, getting back to the story with the Yorkville Melodies, we were singing on the street corner. A social worker came to us and said, rather than get eggs thrown on you, why don't you come down to the neighborhood house in Lenox Hill, and we'll get you a room and you can practice there. So we all went down there, and there was another group singing in another room that I walked by after we finished our rehearsal, and I heard something that I haven't heard, I never heard. And I just went into the door and I saw these three guys, Les Couchy, Tom Ferrara, and Keith Kessner. They were they were called the Jokers because they were a basketball team. They were just a bunch of guys to sing them, but there was a sound there, just the three of them. And I walked, and they said to me, "Gee, we really enjoyed listening to your group." I said, "Well, I can't. I was walking down the hallway, and I had to come in to say hello to you, and I've never heard anything like that." So they said, "Would you like to sing a song with us?" Now, I was a background singer. I was a baritone singer, so I didn't know any songs. I never sang lead, but I knew one song. Ironically, it was called "Sweetest One," Johnny Maestro and the Crust. We'll get to that later. And I sang it with them, and they asked me if I would join the group. And so I was like flabbergasted. I never heard that. Les Couchy had a timbre to his voice that just was outstanding. He was the best tenor in the business.
Right.
And I joined the group, and we named ourselves the Del Satins. It was just the four of us at the time.
Right. Now the Del Satins was a combination of the two of the hottest groups of the day, the Dells and the Five Satins.
Yeah. And the guy who named us the Del Satins wasn't even in the group yet. And that was Tom Ferrara's brother, Fred.
That was Freddie.
And we would go down in the basement and sing by the coal stove. And Freddie used to come down and put the coal in the stove to heat the building up so people had hot water to take showers and baths back then, because his family was the superintendents. So we said, "Hey, Freddie, go like this, bo," and he did. And he came in the group, and he's the only Del Satin that never left the group when they evolved into the Brooklyn Bridge. And the first song he ever sang with us with the Del Satins, and the last song that he ever sang, "Rest in Peace, Freddie, my brother," was with the Del Satins.
Right.
Gene, let me add something to what you were saying before about Stan being, I guess, under-recognized for what the music he plays. He has been heard by everybody in this country at one point or another during weddings, or some of the songs that he sang are, when you get to,
they're iconic.
Exactly.
You know what, Mike? We're going to right or wrong today as much as we can, being that, we're not Cousin Brucey, we're not Murray the K, we're not Casey Kasem. We're just two local guys, me and you, Mike, and we want to give props to people that built up music that we love. And that's why having Stan on this show is so important, because so getting back, so you formed the group in 58.
Yeah.
Singing Sweetest One, which by the Crest was released in 58.
Yeah, and that was the only song I knew as a lead singer because I wasn't a lead singer.
Gotcha.
And so to become a lead singer, I had to learn how to sing lead songs instead of singing a baritone part in the background.
Right. Now, there were 2 years that you did all the shows in New York without a contract, and you were supposedly, I'm a little bit young, I understand, you were supposedly one of the most exciting groups on the circuit that nobody wanted to follow you guys. Is this true?
Well, that's a big compliment. Thank you very much. We had a great floor show. I think I lost somebody. Oh, there you are.
Yeah.
We had a great floor show. We would idolize the Temptations and the Harptones, and all the black groups were our favorites. And when we played at the Brooklyn Fox with Murray the K, Paul Williams from the Temptations used to take Tommy Ferrara up to the 6th floor of the theater and teach him routines. And Tommy would bring him back down to the dressing room, and we'd go on stage and do them. And that's how we got all our stuff from Temptations and just watching other groups. And we just loved what we did so much.
Right. And you won the Battle of the Groups one year, correct?
Yeah, they had Alan Fredericks, old-time DJ, had a Battle of the Groups at the Empire Hotel on Broadway. And I don't know how many groups participated, but it was a week-long contest, and we came out and we won.
Fabulous.
and we went out and recorded our first record, and we were signed to N Records without meeting anybody, and they thought we were a black group with our first record. The Del Satins, and the song was "I'll Pray for You," a song that I wrote.
You wrote that song.
Yeah.
And you did that. You did all the shows. Did you travel across the country at that point?
No, we didn't do much traveling around across the country. Nobody was old enough to drive. Mr. Ferrara, Tom and Fred's father, used to drive us. And the first paying job we ever had, he took us to New Jersey to a firehouse where the mayor of the town gave us $5. That was $1 a piece. That's what we got. That was our first pay.
Wow.
$5 each?
No, $1 each.
$1 each.
$5. $5. The mayor of the town, we performed in a firehouse for the firemen.
Wow. Well, it's a good bunch of people to have your first pay.
I still have my dollar. I still have it.
I was going to ask you that.
Is it in one of those frames behind you?
I have it. Yeah, it's in the frame back there, next to me and Tony Bennett.
I love it. So now you record "I Pray for You," but then somewhere in the mix you wound up going to Laurie Records.
Yeah.
Now did "I Pray for You" not do the chart success that they had hoped for?
Yeah. Well, we didn't know anything about anything. We didn't sign anything. We just went into A&R Studios. We made the record, and it was put out on N Records through Alan Fredericks and whoever else was involved. And we were a bunch of kids. What did we know? We had a record. That's all we wanted was a record. And I still have my 45. And so we were singing on a street corner one day, and Wally Roker, the bass singer from the Heartbeats, came over and approached us, and he managed us for like 6 months. And then we went to 1697 Broadway and met a guy named Jim Gribble, who became our manager. And Jim took us up to Laurie Records. At the time, Dion was looking for a background singer group. And we had already been on Laurie Records. We recorded Teardrops Follow Me on Laurie Records. And so we went up to Laurie again to audition for Dion. We sang half a song, and he said, that's all. Next day, we went to Dion's house, and we started learning, "Hape, hape, bum de hater, hater, hape, hape." When he asked us to sing that, we started singing it in harmony. And he said, no. I want this all one note. I want this in unison. So kind of like strange, kind of like five guys that we love harmony so much. He wants us to sing it in unison. We got paid $22.50 to record that record. I laughed on the way out of the studio because I thought I robbed the guy. 2 weeks later, the song came #1.
Stan, let me ask you. I read that Dion wanted more of a rocking sounding, group behind him. Is that true? Is that what he was looking for?
Well, Dion has his own story, and my story is what I remember. He remembers us. He said he's met us on the street corner, which we didn't meet him on the street corner. We went up to Laurie Records and auditioned for him. And he liked our sound. We didn't have what they called a white sound. We had a black sound because I idolize all the black groups. Till this day, the Flamingos are still my favorite. Terry Johnson, I love them.
Right. Mike, I don't know if you listened to early Dion and the Belmont record. The Belmonts were formed before Dion joined them, and they were in standards and a lot of stuff. So that was good for Dion when he started with "That's My Desire" and "Where It Went." But as Dion evolved, I think I don't want to say a rocking sound. I think he wanted a more upbeat sound, which is what Del Satins came in.
Right.
Dion was looking for a background vocal group. He wasn't looking to become Dion and the Del Satins. That never would happen. He didn't want that. Right. He didn't want our name on the record. And at the time, we were kind of like, we wanted our own identity. So we thought, okay, what are we going to do? We're making The Wanderer, Runaround Sue, and Sandy. That was $67.50 in one session that we walked out with, that I was feeling rich.
Right.
to two of the biggest rock and roll songs of all time.
I can't believe how many Dion songs are on. We're talking about Runaround Sue, The Wanderer, Lovers Who Wander, Little Diane, Love Came to Me, one of my favorites, Ruby Baby, Donna the Prima Donna, Drip Drop, and Sandy. I mean, you are basically the brick wall behind Dion.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun, and as we started making more records with him, we kind of realized what our importance in our role, but it didn't go any further than that.
Then you recorded with Len Barry?
Yeah, we recorded with Len Barry. We recorded with Nicky Como. We recorded with Bobby Callender. We recorded with Bill Baker from the Five Satins.
Wow.
At that time, we were so hot in the recording studio that everybody wanted us to record for them. So we would spend 3 or 4 days in the recording studio with different artists.
Wow.
Wow. Now, who is Dean and Gene? I don't remember Dean and Gene.
Dean Parrish. Do you remember Dean Parrish? I think it's called Albert Anastasia before he was Dean Parrish. And we worked with him. Gene and Dean were the ones, I think they wrote Best Wishes, Good Luck, and Goodbye. The flip side of Teardrops on Me. You know, I'm trying to remember as much as I can.
Right.
When you become 150 years old, it gets a little tough.
And then you did one of my favorite songs, Ernie Maresca, Shout, Shout, Knock Yourself Out.
Yeah, we recorded a whole album with Ernie.
Right.
Yeah, Ernie was the Wanderer.
Right. I'm surprised Dion didn't grab that from Ernie.
What's that? Shout, Shout?
Yeah.
I'm surprised too. But Dion liked to write his own songs, and he was like on a roll. I mean, the guy wrote some great stuff. You know, as we kept recording with him, it just got to be so much fun.
Right. Now, 62, Teardrops Follow Me hits the charts, right?
It never hit the national charts.
What? Well, local. Let's say
tri-state hit. Connecticut, New Jersey, tri-state. They called it a tri-state hit. New York, Jersey, Pennsylvania, you know, Staten Island, that area. It was never on the national charts.
Right, and that got you in front of Alan Freed.
No, we never played for Alan Freed. Murray the K.
You never did the Alan Freed show.
No, we performed for him when he owned the Alan Freed restaurant or a disco, but we never performed for him on any major stage. No, it was after Alan Freed. When Murray the K came along, that's when we did the Brooklyn Fox twice with the Temptations and the Miracles and Martha and the Vandellas and Smokey Robinson approached us and wanted us to be the first group on Motown Records. And our manager at the time, Jay Fontana, who also managed Clay Cole and Murray the K, wouldn't give them our contract because we were working with Dion at the time. And so we blew that shot.
Yeah, you were on an all African-American show, the only Caucasian group.
Yeah.
And let me ask you this, in light of what's going on today, did you not get along with those guys and girls like they were family?
There was no such thing as racism in our business back then. I idolized the black groups. I still do. Willie Winfield is one of my favorite singers. Terry Johnson from the Flamingos, the Velours, the Heartbeats, Wally Roker. I mean, we were with these guys all the time. Martha and the Vandellas. I loved Martha. You know, we used to hang out. It was just the Four Tops, Marvin Gaye. We all were on the same show. And we were the only white group there. We were like what they called the Oreo cookie. Because picture this. Little Anthony and the Imperials come from Brooklyn.
Right.
The Temptations were like the greatest group of the time with their steps. And we had to follow the Temptations, and Little Anthony followed us in Brooklyn, 10 days, 5 shows a day.
Wow. So what did you do? How long did you perform for? Naturally, you had to do Teardrops Follow Me, but you couldn't just go out for one song. You had to do a few songs. What were the other songs you were doing?
They gave us 2 songs. We would open up with a Chuck Jackson song, I Don't Want to Cry, because I loved the song. And then we did Teardrops Follow Me, and that was it. That's all they gave us the time to do. 2 songs.
5 shows a day.
Shows a day from 10 o'clock in the morning to 1 o'clock in the morning. 5 days. And we watched the Frankie Avalon movie in between. With Land.
People complain today when they got to do 45 minutes once.
I go on stage, I could do 5 hours, and I love it. And I don't want to come off. I got to come get a hook.
Yeah. Good one. Play a little bit of that one, the Teardrops Follow Me. Can we play a little bit of it?
Yeah, let's play a little bit, Mike.
In case Facebook is listening, Stan wrote this, okay? This is Stan's song.
Everywhere that I run to, I guess I'm a lonely soul. Something I can't control. Everywhere he goes, teardrops follow me.
It just has that sound, you know.
Well, the sound there was Les Couchy and Bobby Fiella, and Fred Ferrara and Tom Ferrara.
So who was first tenor?
Les Couchy, the best first tenor in the business to this day.
Wow.
He just passed away a couple of months ago.
Yeah, we lost a lot of people really recently. Stan, give me 1 second. I just want to mention our sponsors, if I can. We picked up a new sponsor today, Mike.
Oh yeah, who'd we get?
Financial Management Corporation of New Rochelle. For over 30 years, personal income tax and corporation, estates and trust funds, and investments have been looked over by Francisco, and Fran is a new sponsor. We're going to put Fran's number up on the screen, 914-589-1013.
Okay. You got to give me a little bit more advance. You got to give me a little bit more of an advance to put the numbers on the screen. But
we're going to fly with this.
Yeah, no, I'll put everything underneath after the show.
And then, of course, we got the Pure Organic Dry Cleanings back on Tremont Avenue in the Bronx. Go to 3166 East Tremont Avenue. Mention Gene and bring 3 items. Get a 4th item clean free. And then, of course, our good friends at Dream Destinations Travel, Howard and Karen, are resort specialists for sandals, resort, and any kind of cruise ship you'd like. You could call them at 447-398-653. And we're going to get back to that by the end of the show.
Okay,
we got to take out the mortgage company. We'll
get rid of them. Don't go.
So, Stan, now you did the shows. At the time, did you have a regular job?
This is all I did all my life. I had other jobs on the side. I drove an ice truck when I was 14 years old, before I started singing. And I drove a limousine for a while. I was working in the Iron Workers Local 580, but that was always side work to me. This was always my career. This is what I love to do, and I'm still doing it today.
Right. Great. So did you find a lot of work on the weekends as the Del Satins?
As far as when? Back in the day?
Yeah.
Oh, the Del Satins were working every weekend. We were in demand, and what was really funny was they booked us on credibility because we were Dion's background group, but because we had such a great stage show. I mean, we did a baseball routine in slow motion, and we did a thing called the bug, where we would pass it around to the people in the audience and get them on a stage, and they would carry the bug and pass it to the next person. And it was just fun, and we just loved what we did so much. And that's how we worked. We never had a major hit record, the #1 charted hit record. It was never on. You'll never see it on any of the compilation albums from any of the big companies, because it never went to a major hit. And right. And then we used to get problems because we couldn't get work later on because of that. Well, you don't have a major hit. So we worked most of our career on being Dion's background vocal group. That's how we got. And so when we perform live, we do all the songs that we recorded with Dion, plus our own stuff,
Right.
and whatever else we feel like doing.
Right. About a couple of years ago, when I was listening to music of you guys, I spoke to somebody in Jersey, and they're the ones that told me about your stage show, and they said that your show was a white version of the Triniers.
Yeah, I think that's where we got the bug routine from.
From the Triniers.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
You know what? It's great to take things from all different acts and put them in one show. 1963, the great Phil Spector called you.
Yeah.
So tell us, was he as eccentric in 1963 as he became?
Phil Spector had what they called the wall of sound. He made records that were like, oh my God, how do you get that sound? And at that time, Dion approached us and said that he was going to leave Laurie Records and he was going to go to Columbia Records. And if we released all our songs to Laurie and got out of our contract, he would take us to Columbia with him and produce our next record. So we thought about that. And at the same time, Phil Spector called me and said, I want you to come up my house, brought the group up to his house, and he offered us to go to California, relocate, and he would produce us. So this is where we were at. This is the dilemma. Where do we go? Do we go with Phil Spector? Do we stay with Dion? And we decided to stay with Dion, and he took us to Columbia and produced a song called Feeling No Pain, with the flip side of one of my favorite songs that we've ever done that he wrote called Who Cares? And so that's how we stayed here instead of going with Phil Spector.
I'm going to ask you a question that maybe people shouldn't ask. Do you regret that decision?
Not at all.
You don't see that with the wall of sound, you guys could have transitioned into the mid-'60s pop field?
I have a philosophy about that. If you think about what could have been somewhere else, then you wouldn't be here today.
It's true.
What an answer, right, Mike?
Perfect.
That's another way of saying, Gene, don't ask that question anymore.
Well, to answer it correctly, I don't regret that decision at all. I'm very happy.
Now, even though you were the leader, was it a group voting process?
Still is.
Yes, it was, huh?
It still is, even with the new members.
Right, that's great. So now comes the mid-'60s. You're with Columbia, and you're still doing shows. After the initial hits, were you solely with Dion, or were you still able to record with other people?
Yeah, we recorded with anybody that asked us to record with them. We didn't have any exclusive contract with Dion. So whoever called us to do a song with them, Bill Baker, Len Barry, those people, that we would just go and do it. And we would learn it the same day that we recorded it.
Right. Other than the Dion hits, what is the next biggest song you're on from another artist?
Shout, knock yourself out.
Okay. Right. Yeah. That's. I mean, if you're gonna have a resume, Mike, I mean, do you know that the Del Satins are probably more responsible for the New York Doo Wop sound than many people who get the accolades? I mean, this guy's on minimum 7 major hits.
Right.
Define the white doo-wop sound of New York. And Stan, the catalog of music would not be the same without the Del Satin's contributions. I got to tell you, when people know background part just as well as they know the lead lines. That's a testament to what you guys put on wax.
Yeah, you know what you are, Stan? You're like that lollipop guy with the pop. You know, yeah, everybody knows the pop.
You know what's funny? I'll go into a 7-Eleven and there'll be a young person behind the counter there, and all of a sudden, Runaround Sue would come on the radio, and they would be going, Dad. And I'm buying my coffee, and they have no idea who I am or what I've done, you know, and I'm watching them jump around and sing the song, and it's like, wow.
Yeah.
I walked out with my coffee and said, phew.
It's like, I got to tell Gene, Stan, we talked about this for a minute before, but Gene, I met Stan, I don't know how many years back now. It's been a few years. I did some CDs for Stan back years ago. And he came in. I'm like, the Del Satins. So I'm doing the song, and I want to talk about that too, Stan, the new song that you did. And it was a great song. And I'm like, the Del Satins, what? They did this and this and this. I was like, holy cow! I know all of these songs. It was just mind blowing. It really was.
Thank you.
Yeah. So now it's mid-60s, and you're working, and you cross paths with Johnny Maestro.
Well, Johnny Maestro and the Crests were the group that was downtown, and they had hit record. They were great. You know, we used to watch Johnny all the time. And in 1965, we did a Clay Cole TV show for 2 years. And in 1965, I was asked to leave the group by our manager, who promised me a solo career, and which never panned out because I was just asked to leave the group. And I gave all my clothes to the next lead singer of the group, and I was supposed to get paid for it. I'm still waiting for the money. But I left the group. Tom Ferrara went into the service into Vietnam. Les Cauchi went into the service in Vietnam. Freddie Ferrara was the only one of the Del Satins that stayed. And so the Del Satins, Freddie found Johnny and asked him to be the lead singer of the Del Satins. And so it was Johnny Maestro and the Del Satins for 6 months. And they recorded a song called Ebb Tide as Johnny Maestro and the Del Satins. Then they met a group called the Rhythm Method. And at that time, the Beatles came out and everybody was self-contained because the Del Satins were an a cappella group. We used to have to use the band at the gig to do our show. So they became the Brooklyn Bridge. Now everyone said, how did you get the name the Brooklyn Bridge? Johnny Maestro's manager, Betty Sperber, when she heard that they had 10 people in the group, she says, that's crazy. How am I going to sell that? That's almost like trying to sell the Brooklyn Bridge. And that's how the name became. So the Del Satins evolved into the Brooklyn Bridge via Johnny Maestro.
Right. That time you were trying a solo career.
And when Les came back out of the service, he joined the group. So him and Fred were up front with Johnny, and that was the Brooklyn Bridge, and they were the sound. And if you listen close, you'll hear a lot of Del Satins in there. I mean, Johnny Maestro was the greatest singer ever in this business.
Wow.
You can hear that background vocals with Fred and Tom, Les. There's Del Satin sound there.
Now, when you went solo, were you still were you a Doo Wop? Were you pop? Were you a balladeer? What were you doing?
I never went solo.
You never went solo?
No, he told me I was going to, but I never did. I never saw my manager after that day. After I gave him the clothes for the next singer, I never saw him. I never got the money, and I never saw him again.
Wow.
And so I had a friend of mine who was a bass player, and he said, let's start a band. I knew nothing about a band, so my friend Andre, who passed away, he helped me form my first band that became Stan Summers. Of course, Clay Cole changed my name from Stan Zizka to Stan Summers because it was easier to say. And so I became Stan Summers and the Unusual. We were unusual. And I knew nothing about a band, and that's how we started. And that evolved into Tangerine. That's a whole nother story.
What year was this about?
1965, 66, 67, like that. And then I spent 2 years with a group from Pennsylvania called the Magnificent Men. And we worked with the Brooklyn Bridge at Charlie Bates's Bonnie Google's in Manhattan.
Mm.
And that's the next time I saw Les and Fred with the Brooklyn Bridge and Johnny. And I was with this great, great group from Pennsylvania, the Magnificent Men. If you ever listen to any of their records, they were like, woof, blue-eyed soul.
Can I ask a question? When you say you were with it, is this doing shows like every weekend? Because I know music was so much different then than it is now.
I lived in Pennsylvania for 2 years, and my wife was in 94th Street in Manhattan. And the reason I left the Magnificent Men is because my wife got pregnant and my daughter was born. And so I didn't want to travel anymore. And so I told him I had to leave.
Okay.
And then I was called by an agent to go fill in for Joe Amato, who was a friend of mine, who was working with this guy, Charlie Aiello, in a place in the Bronx called the Joker's Wild. You should know that place, Gene.
We do.
Yeah. And I filled in for Joe Amato, and that's how I met Charlie Aiello. And that was in 1971. And we're still together.
Is that the Joe Amato who is now singing with the four freshmen?
Yeah, he passed away, Joe.
I didn't.
Yeah,
Joe.
Joey. Yeah, he was doing a takeoff on Frank Sinatra. He was also doing the country singer.
Yep.
Escapes me right now.
Joe did a couple of shows in Valley Forge, Pennsylvania. I did the Elvis, and Joe did the Sinatra.
Yeah, Joey was a good friend of mine. We grew up together. Yeah.
I didn't know he passed away.
He was the lead singer of the Jokers before I came in to the Satins. So I took his place in the Jokers that became the Del Satins, and then Joey later on became our guitar player in the Del Satins.
Wow.
Before Johnny Maestro came along and made it at Brooklyn Bridge. So it's one big family.
We have a comment here, Stan. I'd like you to hear from a girl named Mary Jane who lives down the lane. Stan Zizka and the Del Satins are legend. Gorgeous people.
Thank you.
I had that up on the screen before. I had that up on the screen. I'm popping them up as we go.
I don't see any of those pop-ups.
Oh, you don't see them?
No.
Here we go. Mary Jane.
Mary Jane. Mimi. Hi, Mimi. Hope you're feeling better. She just had a surgery done.
Oh, good, Mimi. And somebody commented you're too far away from the camera so they can't see your beautiful head of hair. That's great.
Wow. Look at that.
Come here. Stan.
You ready for this?
Yeah. It's real. Look at that.
It's real.
And this is my beautiful wife, Paulette.
Hi, Paulette.
That's my.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Hi,
So she's the reason I saw you and get out of here. That's enough. Get out of here. So now it comes 1970, and the Brooklyn Bridge has a major hit. Okay.
Yeah.
They created that theater pop sound.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They're fabulous. Still are. They still are. They're great. Great.
So in the 70s, did you do any of the shows at the Garden with Richard Nader?
No, I called Richard Nader while he was still alive, and I asked him if I could do one of his shows, and he said to me, Stan, he said, you never had a chart record. He said, if I want to hear a Dion medley, I'll hire the Brooklyn Bridge or the Capris.
Bastard.
Yeah. I said, well, thank you. It was very nice to talk to you. Goodbye. And so after his house burned down and his wife died in the fire, they had a big benefit for him at Madison Square Garden. And I took my group, the Del Satins, to go do it for free.
Wow.
You're a special kind of person to do that.
Well, it was for a good cause. Yeah.
Because I told Richard Nader, go in the coffee can and get your money.
Yeah.
Bobby Comstock never had a national hit, and he was on the shows.
Well, I think it was also who you knew and who you didn't know at the time. Like we didn't have any. Jim Gribble had passed on, and we didn't have any major manager that really cared about us. It was more about,
What a shame. But that's all right. I think you still did pretty well without that show.
Hey, I'm still alive. I have a lot of good friends, and I'm doing your show, and I'm very happy about that. Thank you.
We are so tickled pink. You have to see the comments that people did not know half the stuff you're telling us. People are finding out things about you and the Del Satin, which is why we need to do more of these shows, because everybody, they want to only know the hit or the one thing. I want people to know the person.
Sure.
And this is why we created this forum. It would be great to have Dion or Tony Bennett on the show. Yeah, that's all well and good. If they want to do it, I would welcome them with open arms. But it's people like you and Larry and the other people that nobody really hears about them day to day that I want people to know about you guys. And we are so happy. We're not happy that Larry couldn't do it, but we're happy that he called you.
I love
somebody. Yes,
Larry's I love Larry so much, and I'm so glad that he called me. I'm sorry he's not feeling well, but I'm glad he used me because he just came back from Italy. We spent the week in Italy together with Jay Siegel, and we were called the Legends of New York, the Doo Wop Legends of New York, and we spent the whole week in Italy. Oh no, Spain. It was Spain. I'm sorry, Barcelona. Italy was the year before. I'm sorry.
We have a comment from Jane Fox. Our first show in Yorkville was with Stan and the Del Satins and Vito Pacone and the Elegants, Twin Gold.
Jane Fox, Twin Gold. Hi, Jane.
Yeah. Great. That's great. So before we get into talking about the Del Satins and Stan Zizka now, let me move out of the way. Mike, can you put up the second middle picture of the new Del Satins?
Let's see. Do I have that one? I don't think I have that as a standalone picture, Gene.
You don't? Okay. No. So, Stan, I'm going to move. Tell us who's in this.
If you zoom in on my wall, you can see a whole bunch of them. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
So, tell us who's in the Del Satins now.
I have Tom Ferrara, who's the original lead singer. The original bass singer. Charlie Aiello, who I met through Joe Amato in 1971, who's also a member of Tangerine, Edie Van Buren, who's also a member of Tangerine, and Emilio Funatora. And these people, it's like having a family. It's like your brothers and sister. It's just so much fun because everybody wants to do it and just loves it, and you can see that on stage when we perform.
Here we go.
How much? Look at the smiles. That's real. That's real. And the sound that those guys have with that girl, forget it. It's just.
So Tommy Ferrara kind of came full circle.
I'm sorry?
Tommy Ferrara kind of came full circle.
When after Johnny passed away, I had a group called Stan Zizka's Del Satins, which was Charlie and Edie, and I had two other people. And I wanted to try to get the original group back since Johnny passed away. So I called Freddie and Les, and they agreed to do some shows. And then I called Tommy, and Tommy was retired from the Capris, and he hadn't sung in 3-4 years. And I said, this is your chance to sing with your brother again. And he agreed to it. And so we had the original Del Satins back together. And it was like we never left. It was like that magic. As soon as we opened our mouths, we remembered every word to every song we ever learned.
That's fabulous.
And it was like May, June, July, August, September, and October. I think we had 6 months before Freddie passed. And we did a couple of stage shows, and it was just so much fun and so great to have the whole group back together again. And then when Freddie passed on, and Les moved to North Carolina, and he was like, he couldn't do both jobs because he was still with the Brooklyn Bridge. So he made a choice, and he stayed with the Brooklyn Bridge because he was with them for 40 years. So I understood that. And so we got Emilio to take his place. And we kept the Del Satins going, and we do our own show at the Patchwork Theater every year. We went to Italy. We went to Spain twice. We've been all without a hit record.
Right. Well, no, say all without a major hit record.
Major hit record. Yeah.
Hit record. And you have a hit record when other groups do your song in their show.
Well, Teardrops Follow Me, if you're a Doo Wop fan, you know the song.
Right.
So it didn't matter how many records were sold at the time. That was the record company's business because they made the money, not us.
Right.
So as long as you know the song, to me, it's a hit.
Right. We had a great a cappella group called the Renditions.
Yeah.
At some of our shows.
Sammy with you?
Sammy and
Charlie Schaffner?
Yep.
Yeah. I know. I see Charlie all the time.
Yep. And they used to do your song all the time.
You were with the Renditions. I got to look at that video again. I'll pick you out.
No, I was the promoter.
Oh, you were the promoter. Okay, well, then you're in the background.
He was the Don
I
King.
never joined the group because I couldn't get along with anybody.
Okay.
And then you did some Christmas songs.
Getting along with people in the group is, you got to really love what you're doing.
I know.
And you got to love each other.
Yes. And then you did some Christmas songs.
Christmas songs, yeah.
What did you
do? Art Laurier's TV show.
Yes.
Yeah, we did it. We did Jingle Bell Rock and Silent Night. Well, a bunch of them. Whatever the songs. All the Christmas carols.
Right.
We recorded them, but they're on Art Laurier's TV show.
Are they available if people want to purchase those songs?
No.
All right. Well, we got to talk to Laurier's son then.
I'm working on it. I'm working on an album right now. I don't know if I'm going to have it ready this year, but it's a Christmas album by the Del Satins. So
wonderful.
Yeah.
Which brings us to a very important part of your career. I'm going to mention my sponsors one more time, and then we're going to get to a very important song that you wrote and recorded, which is perfect for the disarray that our country is in right now. But we'll get to that.
I actually have a video of that too, Gene.
Give me a second, if you don't mind.
Sure, man.
Once again, we want to thank our sponsors, Pure Organic Dry Cleaning, the Bronx, 3166 East Tremont Avenue. Bringing 3 articles of clothing, mention Gene's name. Fourth one, Dream Destination Travel, Howard and Karen for all your travel needs. 347-398-8653. And our new sponsor, Financial Management Corporation, for 30 years, our dear friend Francisco. Call 914-589-1013 for all your tax needs. Which we so, Stan, you wrote a song called "Piece of Cloth."
Yeah.
Which behind me you see, we proudly display.
Thank you.
That is actually when Pepe Cardona passed away. This was his scarf that his family willed to me.
Wow.
So he hung that for 35 years on his microphone. Tell us about the song "Piece of Cloth," please.
I wrote a poem July 4th, 2012. And I like to write a lot of poems, and I like to put them up on Facebook to see people's reactions and see how they like them or they don't like them. And I got a lot of reaction on this one song called "A Piece of Cloth" that I wrote that was all about the American flag and the sacrifices that the veterans made to make us a free country. And
say that again.
Can you hear me?
Gene, you cut out, Gene. We lost his audio.
On? Am I still on?
Gene, you're muted. Let me just unmute Gene. Go ahead, Gene. No, it says your mic's not connected, Gene. Okay. While he does that, Stan, go ahead. You want to keep going with the story because I have the video clip, and we'll talk about that.
Well, I just thought my guitar player in the Del Satins, his name is Joe Weinman, and he said to me, "Gee, I'd like to put some music to that." And I said, "That's very good because I have a lot of fans on Facebook that asked to make a song out of that poem." And so we did. And it's called A Piece of Cloth. And it's for everybody in this country should listen to the words. And
yep. And we actually have the CD right here, and we have a video
that you produced.
Yeah. So I'm gonna play the video real quick. Gene, you gonna try to work on the mic? Okay.
This song, by the way, was also recorded in my studio and produced and mastered at Warren Gratis from the Belmonts.
Okay. We're going to bring Gene in on the phone.
Mike, I got to restart the computer.
Okay, restart and just use that same link, Gene. Okay, Gene's going to restart the computer. He's having a little technical difficulties there. Okay.
I understand his problems, believe me.
Okay, yeah, there he is. Look at that face. We should take a screenshot of this, right, and send it to him.
That's a screenshot.
Okay, we're going to play the video. We'll fix Gene's thing, and we'll come back in 3 minutes, Stan, okay?
Thank you.
To survive in peace and harmony, united and strong, we must have one people, one nation, one flag.
A piece of cloth with stars and stripes of red, white, and blue, and all the men and women who sacrificed for me and you, carried it through all the pain and over fields of glory, throughout the world for all to see. This is their story. Raise it up, show it off, be proud for which it stands. Let it blow in the wind over this great land. A piece of cloth, it's our flag. A piece of cloth, it's our flag. Ever since it was created, this flag has seen it all. Stepped on and burned, still it wouldn't fall. And generations before us, and many more to come, will fly it high and protect this place that we call home. Stand it tall, fly it strong, for all the world to see. Let the world know the reason for a nation proud and free. It's our flag, a piece of cloth. It's our flag.
How many soldiers died?
How many families cried?
How many families cried?
How many understand?
This is our flag.
God bless this land. A piece of cloth, it's our flag. A piece
for which it stands.
Oh,
Wow.
wow.
That's a great man.
Thank you.
Um,
Thank you.
I tell you, I don't get moved that often, but that was unbelievable, Stan. And I got to ask you, is that song available on any platform for people to buy or download?
Yeah, they could email me at popstash@gmail.com, and I'll be happy to send out a copy.
Fabulous.
We could put a link down on our page. We could even do that for you, Stan.
Yeah. I'd like, if you don't mind, for you to send me the poem so I can add that to my website. Would you mind?
Very good. I would be happy to do that.
I would love that. Stan, what's next on the Del Satin's timeline?
That's a good question because of the what's going on right now in the world. Everything is kind of like at a standstill. We had 3 or 4 shows that were coming up that got postponed until next year, and hopefully we'll be out of this pandemic by that time, and we can get back to normal, hopefully. But
Right.
in the near future, it's just I'm trying to get some work together with Tangerine because there's only 3 of us, and we do local restaurants and we do different material than the Del Satins.
Well, Stan, I got to tell you, I live in the Bronx, but if there is anything I could do for you to get your group on this side of the bridge, all you have to do is ask.
Well, anytime you have a show or anything that you'd like me to participate in, please give me a call. You have my number, and
Yes.
I can come tonight.
Thank you. Well, hopefully, Stan, you enjoyed our hour together and you got to tell stories that maybe you don't get to tell as often as you'd like.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a whole lot of stuff in your mind that just comes to your mind when someone asks you a question. It just keeps revolving. I hope I didn't over answer anything.
I think you were a perfect guest, and by the comments, we might have to do a Stan Zizka part 2 coming, and hopefully
I'll be here tomorrow.
Hopefully you enjoyed it and you'll follow us because next week we got a great show with an actor named Louis Veneri. Oh, no, excuse me, that's the 28th. Next week we got an Elvis artist named Anthony Ligori, who's also a country singer and a gospel artist. So, Stan, we welcome you to the Reminiscing family, and just stay well, stay positive, and God bless you. And thank you for that wonderful song, and thank you for all the harmonies you've given the world over the past 50 some odd years.
Yep, and we'll do that, Gene. Why don't maybe we could actually have our guests on here? Maybe we could put their links to their music and sell the music for them, and we'll take care of all that. And I think
that's great.
I know Stan has a few CDs because I did them for him, and he's another one's coming soon, right, Stan?
Yeah. I did a song that Warren Gratis from the Belmonts, who mastered, he did a song with me called One Pair of Hands, which I don't have available at this point. I would love to have had it on the show. So if you want to have me back again, I'd love to come back anytime. And I've got plenty of stuff that.
Sure. One Pair of Hands. Was that the Carol Robertson song?
That's it, yeah.
Do you know how many people think that's Elvis Presley and it's not?
Well, Elvis did do a version of it.
I don't know.
Well, that's a big dispute. Yeah. There's no way of knowing. We can't ask him.
No, but you know what, man? Next week we could have a psychic on, and maybe we could try to.
You know that Glenn Campbell's wife co-wrote that song.
I did not know that.
Wow.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Stan, how can people find out about all your shows? What's the website?
My website is not really. If you want to know, become my friend on Facebook or go to the news feed, because Facebook is the platform that I use for appearances and whatever the Del Satins or Tangerine are doing at the time. And so if you're on Facebook, be my guest.
Is it a Del Satins page or is it Stan Zizka?
There's a Stan Zizka page, and there's also a Stan Zizka's Del Satins page, which almost the same thing.
Okay, great. Well, Mike, we have to follow both those pages now.
Yes, and Stan, just so you know, we had some comments here that we should send your song to
Carrie Ann.
and we have to send your CD to the president, and I'm sure he'll like
You
that.
know what? If you can get that CD to the president, I think the more people that hear the song, the better off that we could be.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And Mike, stay with me, Mike. But ladies and gentlemen, I don't know how we're going to do it, but please give a big round of applause for a New York legend, Mr. Stan Zizka and the Del Satins. Thank you, Stan, very much.
Thank you, Stan.
We appreciate you, and we will be there to support you once everything opens up again.
Thanks, Gene. Thanks, Mike. Good seeing you.
Thank you, Stan. We'll see you soon.
Bye, everybody.
We're playing out with Stan.
Everything that I try to do.
Wow. What a voice. What a voice.
What do you think?
I think it's great. I think he was a great guest. A lot of great comments. And I couldn't click fast enough.